Roll call.
Chisel.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Luce. Zittergruen.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council on anything that is not on this agenda?
You got one.
Just come up, say your name and your address.
I'm Julie Fisher at 712 West Main in Decorah. I would just like to thank the council for getting on the sidewalks. Oh my gosh. I walk some every day and was scared last winter because of the tilt of the big, offsets. So this year they're going to be smooth. And I really appreciate that, and I've heard that from other people too. So thanks for really getting behind that and doing it. I suppose we're next for our sidewalk, so we're ready.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to give us encouragement in that respect. Okay, consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the September 5th, 2023 council meeting. B, claims. C, pay application number 1 for the Decorah 2023 alley improvements project. And D, pay application number 2 for the Decorah 2023 street improvements asphalt resurfacing project.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Moved by Olson, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Olson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Conduct public hearing on amending the official zoning map of the city of Decorah, Iowa, set forth in Title 17, Section 17.60.020 of the Municipal Code of the city of Decorah to change the zoning classification from A1 Agricultural District to C1 Highway Commercial District for a parcel of real estate owned by Decorah Jobs. Can you give background on that, please?
Sure. So I'll lump the background for items 5 and 6 together. 5 being the public hearing, 6 being the actionable item by council. So the public hearing is required by state law prior to amendment to the city zoning code. The request from Decorah Jobs, Inc. is to rezone a parcel. It'd be immediately southwest of the Decorah Business Park. It was purchased from the Orvella family, so commonly referred to as the Orvella property. Whenever those properties are annexed into the city limits, they typically default to the A1 Ag zoning classification. The adjacent parcels to this, Norwegian Mutual and others, I believe it's a vacant lot, are all C1 zoning classification. Currently working with a business prospect that this would also fit their desired use.
Okay, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public.
You might have one.
Sorry, the applicant, Decorah Jobs.
Oh,
This
sorry.
is Maddie. Some
I'm
of you
like
haven't met her yet.
zooming right along. Come on up here.
Sorry, this is my first time.
That's okay. This is not my first time. I should be looking closer.
Maddie Putnam with Winship County Development and Tourism, so Decorah Jobs as well. Basically, yeah, it's 30 acres that's along the highway, and we've had multiple businesses over the last few years look to relocate to Decorah in the Jobs Park, and the land is agriculture, so then it has to go through the rezoning process before they could move here. So the intent would be to just rezone it all, and then it would be ready for businesses. So when a business comes and says, hey, we want this chunk of this 30 acres, we can say, yep, it's already zoned, ready to go. So that's the intent there.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, this time I'm looking with eagle eye. Don't see anybody else. I'll close the public hearing. Next item is to consider an ordinance to amend the official zoning map, as I stated previously at the public hearing. I'm going to put it that way.
Hadley will move to approve. Second.
Okay, motion made by Chisel, seconded by Hadley. Any further discussions? Roll call?
Chisel.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. And this is the first reading. Consider resolution to transfer library general funds to the library special gift funds. I think Carrie, you're presenting that?
I handed out a sheet that should be on in front of you. This is regarding, the library is requesting for money to be transferred from the general funds to the library special gift. And so the total that is being requested, and that would be from fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 together, would be a total of $10,939.03. What this is, it is regarding the RSVP program. What they have not spent, they have spent all of the state funds that were received, all the federal funds. Where they're coming ahead at is most of it is private donations. So they're requesting that those funds are being able to move to the special gifts so they can ensure that the funds are being used as they were requested with the donations.
And that would be for RSVP?
RSVP.
And would that be set going forth through the future too?
Could, if the council so wished. That was just our regular process and not necessarily have to come to council to decide.
Okay,
I make a motion to support the transfer of library general funds to the library to the special gift funds.
Second.
motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Further discussion.
Just a quick question. Oh, go ahead, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You may be asking me questions.
Oh, okay. If funding sources change in the future going forward and the program runs a deficit, do we have a way of tracking this so that we can, kind of claw the money back? Or is this, once it's in the special gifts fund, that's all it can be used for? Does the question make sense?
It does make sense. I would not recommend it, but if that's what council wanted, that would be a lot of tracking. I don't know. The library does very well with their donations. I don't necessarily see that happening, especially with Kristen following how much money she is spending, and Dina with the RSVP program, but if that's something that would be requested by council.
So actually, this is just a one-time thing that we're talking about for this particular time?
This is, from what I understand, this has not been past practice.
Okay,
And so after we discussed with Kristen, I discussed it with Travis, I also discussed it with Hacker and Nelson
okay,
to make sure that they are okay and it was all legit and everybody is on board feeling if that extra money is coming from
Okay.
most of it private donations towards RSVP, that we should feel that it should.
then I actually consider that from here on out, this is the way it will be handled. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because these are donations that come specifically earmarked for that program. I don't know why we would then take it
No.
to do anything else with it.
Only to support the program or address a deficit in the program if one happens in the future due to other funding streams drying up. I'm not implying that we use it for anything else.
Well, yeah, I assume they would go and use these funds for that purpose. So.
Yeah, these funds will be used to support RSVP as
One way or the other.
they were intended, one way or the other, and we're watching closely for any changes at the federal or state level to try and make up any shortfalls prior to ever hitting the deficit. So we're keeping a close.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call?
Neal.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion carried. Discussion on the fiscal year 25 street improvement plan.
Okay, so at the last council meeting prior to, there was a street committee discussion where essentially two draft FY25 plans were presented, one of which is very typical of what we've done the last year, or 2 years actually, with a certain amount allocated to rideability, some milling, overlay, a few substantial rebuilds, and then the second plan being a a multi-phased approach to Hively Street, essentially from the bowling alley west to here, with the dollar amount for that project exceeding 1 year total in lost revenues, fairly substantial project. And so at that committee meeting, there was a lot of discussion about a potential third option, which would be essentially the two blended together, take a first phase on Hively and then fill in with the rest, utilizing the rest of the funds for more rideability type projects. So with that, Jeremy, go for it.
No, I think, thank you, Travis, covered it well. Yeah, just based on feedback from the committee meeting, we presented a third option here. And yeah, I can answer questions, or I don't know that I have a whole lot to add. I can bring up maps again if you want to see those.
Travis, did you look at option 2? I know option 2 is a fiscal stretch for us. Did you look at the availability of stormwater or incorporating bonding?
Jeremy, can you grab, you've got 2, and then doesn't it have the reserve balance on the side there as well?
Oh, did you?
So, yes, we did take a look at 2. There's a number of options if the appetite's there for council. We could, so the wastewater treatment plant, we've got about $5 million plant upgrade coming up in the future. That the plan was to borrow from the state revolving loan fund. Those funds are, I think they're still at 2%, or did they go up yet, Jeremy? They're subprime rates. So the plan was to borrow from there. So if council wants to pursue option 2, there are multiple parts to this street, of course, but also underground with water, sewer, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. We can actually borrow from the SRF for the water and the sewer portions of it if we so chose. That would keep the fund from being completely depleted, and also using, again, at a 2% interest rate. That's extremely low to use their funds to get this project done. And we'd repay it through the existing utility fund over time.
And do we only have that option this year?
No.
Right? So if we wanted, well, I meant because we're taking out the,
It would capitalize on some already existing, we're gonna have some expenses in going through the state revolving loan fund process anyway.
okay.
And so if we were to tack on additional for this project to cover the cost of the water, sewer, underground, we could do that. What that also does, the SRF has what they call the sponsored project grant. You do have to apply for it. It has gotten more competitive as of late, but it is up to 10% of the loan.
10% up to $1 million, but that's for like water quality investment. So like
And that's
hard
where I was
pipe.
getting at.
Yep.
And we can use that sponsored project for different water quality initiatives in Decorah, including some that we already have. We have a local match obligation through the USDA one. What's the USDA one that we got? The WQI.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got to provide that local match for that.
So in plain terms, what I'm really asking is this the best time we have to do option 2? Or do you think we'll still be set up in the future to do option 2 well? The rest of option 2. I mean, 3 is obviously a hybrid of some of option 2, but if we need to then do the rest of 2, will we be missing an opportunity if we don't do it this year?
If you say best time to do option 2, and any form of option 2 in the future includes borrowing, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room would agree that the best time to borrow personally would have been 2-3 years ago.
Can't go backwards.
I
We're
know.
only looking forward.
But that's my point is
Yeah.
we're still seeing that state revolving loan fund sitting at about 2%.
Right.
And
Well, so
I
is that
don't
gonna
know
go to-
that's
is
going to
that
get
gonna
any
go to-
better.
That's what I'm wondering.
my
Is it
answer
about to go to
that.
4 or 5, right?
But the question to council is, are we wanting to borrow? Again, this would not be a debt service related borrowing
Right.
that we're discussing here. So it would not be a property tax implication. It would be a fund implication through those enterprise funds.
Right.
My personal opinion is that number 2, if we have the financial capability to pay the loan back through revenue funding, is to take the opportunity to do 2 all at once rather than trying to do a phased approach where other shiny projects might come along. Underground work is not inherently sexy, and constituents don't see it. But if you've driven Hively during a flood, or if you've looked at the condition of the pavement, the cracking is caused by flooding. So it's important that we take care of our infrastructure to maximize our above ground infrastructure. And so my personal support would be for number 2.
Go ahead. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I am drawn to number 2 mainly because of the map Jeremy showed us, and this is what we would call one of our most needed streets in red. And I like the fact that we can do this work without an implication of property taxes. And so I'm cautiously drawn to 2, but that's kind of where I stand.
Well, and we will have street projects coming up in the next 4 years that we'll need to bond for.
Right.
Because we have North College, we've got the other section of Hively, we've got North Alley. You know, we've got some bigger things to chew, but if we can do this within our budget and within utilizing the other funds, I think it's a good thing.
Hey, can you clarify for me, if you do number 2, that takes out the preventative maintenance and rideability completely?
It does for 1 year.
I know, but these are all streets that have been waiting for years and years.
Yep, but if you use the East Main concept, remember how long we waited for East Main?
Yeah,
Remember how long we waited for Locust Road?
well, and you know, all of the streets that are on here were waiting.
And
prior to East Main,
yes,
too.
but Hively, you don't want to do underground work and then rip the street up again, right? And if we do the underground work and then we put the street on top, we're solving a problem that's creating a problem. So
I guess, you know, my concern is that we're taking some of these streets that should be taken care of and putting it off.
we are not delaying we're not doing overlay. Overlay is sexy and easy, and people look at black roads and think that they're new, and they're not, because the base is still corrupt, right? And that's what that pavement index report shows.
Okay.
The reason it's red is because the pavement is so cracked that there's not a basis for us to mill and overlay like we do for roads that are less affected,
Well,
right?
I guess I understand that piece, but I also am, I look at number 3 as being able to get 1, 2, 3 roads that have been waiting for a long, long time to be re-overlaid.
Yep, and you have to just trust that Jeremy and the street committee have looked long and hard at this list and the pavement condition report and brought forth a proposal because
No, I
of the
know.
opportunity.
I understand that, but
So-
I've also sat at these discussions before,
Yes.
and the streets,
People
those
are
streets.
Keeping your beer cold and keeping the streets smooth, very aware, but, you know,
One way to
I
look
guess
at
I
what-
would,
oh, go
I
ahead.
guess I'd like to thank Jeremy for at least looking at option 3 and proposing that and putting that together. I would lean in favor of option 3. It would allow us to do some projects that, as the mayor pointed out, have been needed for a long time, as well as get our foot in the door with Hively Street. Obviously, that's a big project that we have to get accomplished, and it would allow us to get our foot in the door and get started on that project, but we'll continue on down the road. So I'd be in favor of option 3.
In option 3, the water main gets replaced or not?
No, so
Yeah.
option 3 in regards to being the first phase of Hively would just be storm sewer.
Yeah, I mean, in one way, I understand preventative maintenance on streets that have been waiting, but they are preventative maintenance on our streets. We're talking about a 150-year-old water main that we know needs to get replaced. And we have this kind of convalescence of these, not convalescence, who cares? Convergence, thank you. This convergence of things that would allow us in some ways to tackle a red street, so beyond preventative maintenance, right? Those things that we can't afford in a regular year. A water main issue that is just essentially waiting there to be a ginormous problem. And so to me, that's why I lean towards 2. I mean, I just think I understand preventative maintenance. I live on Ravine. You know, I mean, I get waiting, but I think Ross is right in regards to sometimes that extra year that we can give those projects in order to invest in a larger project that we don't ever get to do.
I only go back to how many years we've put them up, so.
Well, how many years have we put off Highway? I mean, I get putting them up.
I understand. So,
When do you need action taken on this, Jeremy? When do we need to?
Like 6:15 tonight?
Okay,
or-
6:15. So we got 10 more minutes then to discuss this.
No, I think we have, I would like to know, we're wrapping up this year's projects probably within the next month.
Okay.
I'd like to go right into, depending on what is done, gathering survey data for
For the next
next year.
fiscal year. Sure.
So we can, over the winter, be a little more efficient in our design and
Sure.
be ready to go first thing in the spring.
Jess would appreciate not having to do that survey work in the snow.
So we're down to 8 minutes now then?
Randy, Kirk, Stephen?
Either one's fine. I've got a couple quick thoughts on it. You know, I understand the points that Ross and Emily are making. Certainly, I think that if we touch Hively, we need to do the water main. I remember conversations with Hacker Nelson where they said that one of the wise things that this city has historically done is when we look at roads, we always fix the underground infrastructure along the way. That's prevents a lot of headaches down the road and costs. My 2 concerns with option 2 are just one, I'd like to better understand the precedent of not transferring a payment to debt service for Locust Road as part of this budget. I think it's important that, you know, that not come out of general funds or whatever. I know that would raise the levy because we levy for the amount of debt that we're covering. And so this is sort of a way to wedge in another $200,000 in road spending when we already spend so much money as a council on roads. And so I'm concerned about the precedent that would set because it's not like things are getting cheaper to do. And so once the council does that, doesn't transfer money to cover the debt service, it's going to be tempting to do that over and over again. And I think that's not a great precedent for the city. And my second concern is just a question of timing. I'd like to see a project like this done sometime, given all the changes that are happening and maybe happening in the North Alley over the next 5 years. I wonder if it, you know, it's hard because we don't know if we'll be able to fund this project fully in a future year, and we sort of know how we can make it happen now. But I'm concerned that I want to make sure that we don't just do a good thing, but we do a good thing that's the right thing for this city. And it seems as if, you know, if we go about this design and planning without knowing exactly what's happening in the next 5 years in other places, I wonder if we'll build exactly what we will want to have built, if that makes sense. So those are my 2 things. I will say that if we do end up going with option 2, I just strongly encourage the council, our city staff, and the public to think carefully about, you know, provisioning for children to safely be walking and biking back and forth to school. Right now, Hively is not a great route. You know, there's half the people use the sidewalk, half of them are on the street. I think a good rule of thumb for a bike path near a school, I read this, you know, Jeremy, so this is new that I'm saying this. I've never said this before, but I think if you wouldn't want your child walking in it, you probably shouldn't build it. And so I hope that when we're building a bike lane, we take steps not just to have painted lines, but physical protection for the most vulnerable users of our community's road network.
Okay. That's discussion.
I support number 2.
I support number 2.
I think Kirsten, we got everybody now.
Yep, I think you do.
I agree with Kirsten and the mayor that number 3 is, we can get a lot done in that and we can get started on the other, but I would support 3.
Well, okay, so, were you finished, sorry?
I said
Okay.
I'm done. I would just support 3 because I like getting more done than that tunnel vision of 1.
So for my own, comfort, as I think about 4-3 votes in this regard with this much money, I guess I would like to hear more from Travis and Jeremy in terms of your thoughts on what you think our best move is here. I know you hate that question, but, I mean, you're the engineer, you're the city manager. At this point, there's some expertise in the room that we probably don't have, so
Well, and Travis has a fiscal background,
Yeah.
so.
talk us through this.
Oh, if only streets weren't a political issue too. So that's the problem. So
Think,
there are,
think fiscally. I want to know
Right.
that. I don't care about. I want to know the fiscal.
so there are certainly economies of scale to be gained with option 2, a single mobilization with Hively. Yeah, they would approach it in a somewhat staged approach, but the contractor would be mobilizing one time. With a larger project, typically economies of scale come to play where your unit pricing is lower because you're buying in bulk essentially. So there are some efficiencies gained financially there. But what I am where Jeremy's not gonna go without having to provide some input. So the 3 listed and this would be a key factor in my consideration. In option 3, there are 3 streets listed. Those specific 3, if are not addressed in fiscal year 25, would the means to repair them or address them in fiscal 26 be any different?
No, but I wouldn't want to go more than that. I think we're getting close on them.
So I pose that question because if the answer's no, or if the answer's yes, the conditions would be changed. The most efficient way you can you can address streets are to extend the life at the point of no return. But next year, if the same method would be recommended for maintenance, we haven't lost out. What I'm getting at is,
Can we mill and overlay can we wait to mill and overlay one more year?
correct, because if the answer is no, next year it's now full depth. Full depth is way more expensive. We need to mill and overlay at that time.
So
But
what
if
is
the
it?
answer is we can postpone a year and the change is not different, then I'm okay with it.
And he just,
So what was the answer?
yeah,
The answer was fiscal 26 would be the same as fiscal 25, but fiscal 27 is probably not the same, meaning we can maybe get one more year, but that's about it.
Okay, so can you build us a 2-year street plan that does this year and that next year, so we can actually see the financial implications, knowing we need to do that the following year?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just wondering if that would make people feel more comfortable. I guess that helped me a lot in hearing that. But I would want to know that then in fiscal year 26, we can actually do those 3 streets. Because then I feel like we're getting our cake and eating it too, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 streets, I think we had 350,000 for option 3. I mean, that'll fit well within a
Okay.
fiscal 20.
And just from a historical precedent, this project was the first project that was pitched to me when I took on the street committee.
this
The
whole
Hively
number
was?
2.
Number 2 was the first project that was pitched to me, and I said no because we needed to save money to do Locust Road. And to do Locust Road, we had to do Ridge Road. And so staging, this is now catching up 4.5 years later. So just know that it's not like we've kicked other cans as well.
I understand. I'm not voting, so. Okay,
So I'm gathering staff is gonna prepare a 2-year plan.
We'd have,
with knowing that year 2, I mean, year 1, even the fiscal 25 portion is, of course, subject to whatever our bid dollars come in at.
Right.
Fiscal 26 might change dramatically, who knows, price of concrete might shoot up dramatically, asphalt. So it'll be a plan, but plans change.
I
And
do,
is there need, and you're looking for action on this tonight? Okay.
Nope.
I have one more question, because I do think that Steve Zittergren brings up a good point in terms of the not paying down debt service and not making it a habit and trying to figure out, well, where are those funds going to come from? Do you foresee that we have some capacity in the budget to cover that as opposed to a tax?
No.
So you think that would increase property taxes by the
What do we do,
175,000?
150,000? Yeah, because as I've pointed out, the last 2 years that we've prepared the budget together, we are falsely buying down the property tax levy by using local option sales tax to pay
Right.
debt service for Locust, where that was not
The intention of
the
it,
original intent.
right.
And we are also bringing down the benefits, and so,
And that's gonna
Yep.
go up, what, 20 cents?
yes.
I was
and-
just trying to pull up
And
my
I just want
notes,
to
too.
also, with number 2, I just want to make sure everybody's being aware of this, and I'm sure you are, but the reserve will be down to 10%.
Yeah, we were.
One more quick question, Jeremy. How much of that estimate that you said of delaying that till, say, 27, those 3 projects, is dependent on weather that we get between now and then?
Oh, don't say that. out
Yeah,
loud.
I know that's a tough question.
Well, according to the Farmer's Almanac, it's supposed to be drier next year than this year.
Yeah, that's always it. As Ross alluded to, even these 3 streets, it's all about drainage. And as you know, on West Main,
Right.
drainage is a concern. There are
Right.
some things we could do in the interim if those get pushed a year in regards to either drainage or some edge milling or something like that with our new equipment. But Pleasant Hill, probably not as big a concern given that it's on top of a hill. It's just pavement's old and failing. Grove Street, maybe some, but West Main would be the biggest concern there.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. I mean.
Right, it's hard to
know,
predict,
yeah.
I know, but,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Thanks, anyway, for.
Okay, good discussion. City manager, department head, and council reports.
So as a reminder, let's see, today's the 18th. So papers are due this week to turn in for nomination papers for elected positions. I did have an individual of the public come in, have a lot of questions surrounding which wards were up, because the numbers listed didn't line with who's actually up here, and so I understand a lot of confusion. Want to run through it one more time.
Good, thank you.
So Randy, although Ward 1 is listed on the ballot, Randy is not up for re-election. He actually lives in what is now Ward 5 and will, after the election, represent Ward 5. We will change the nameplate, maybe even look at moving his chair. Emily, same thing, does not live in Ward 2, however, was elected 4 years ago. So she will be on the ballot, and her position of Ward 2, as well as her current ward of Ward 1, because primarily nobody lives in now Ward 1 except Emily.
Did you just
So
steal
she-
my announcement? No, go ahead.
No, I don't think so. I'm just pointing out, so wards 1, 2, as I'm going around the table, Kirsten, his is fine. He's the only council member who lives in Ward 3 and was elected 2 years ago. Then we get past Lorraine over to Steve Luce and Steve Zittergruen, who now both reside in Ward 4. For that fact, now both of them are going to be up for election in Ward 4, regardless of the fact that Steve Zittergruen was just reelected 2 years ago. So both of them with Ward 4 will be up. Ross is elected at large. Redistricting has no bearing, was reelected 2 years ago, so not on the ballot. Kirk Johnson, at large, again, redistricting has no impact, but was reelected 4 years ago, so that position's on the ballot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
In
for
addition
everything.
to that, 3 park board positions also on the ballot.
Correct. Okay, let's see. Anything else from you?
I think that's enough.
Okay, Carrie? Over to the table. I guess we'll have, do you want to come up and use the microphone, please? I think that'd be best.
Just wanted to take a moment to address the happenings over the weekend. We've received a lot of questions in our agency as well as from council persons. The crimes that occurred Saturday night into Sunday morning are unacceptable, and they are taken very seriously by our department. We are investigating thoroughly. Because it's an active investigation, there's limited information that I want to put out there. However, I am pleased with the progression of the investigation, and you should all have some answers fairly quickly. But just understand that what we are focusing on is obviously investigating and bringing to justice the few individuals in this community that committed such a horrible crime. But we're going to put our attention on how we saw this community come together afterwards and the number of people we saw helping one another and consoling one another and just really coming together. And that's the unity that we want Decorah to be known for and to stand for. So as people bring questions to us, we answer them as we can, but we divert their attention back to what makes this place such a great place to live, work, and play. So I just wanted you to know that we are investigating, and you will know in short order when arrests are made.
I want to pass on to the police department and the sheriff's department the unified effort that has gone into that from right at the beginning. And I really appreciate that greatly. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Sheriff Dan Marks and all of his deputies have been wonderful. And really, it was city property and county property that were involved in this. And so it was really that collaboration and effort that is going to bring this case to fruition, and arrests will be made.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else from, Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy, yes. You want to come up here and tell us?
Can I sit here? I like this one.
No.
Yeah, I have some good news to share. We found out last week that we were awarded a grant from the USDA for urban and community forestry. So Sam Hoganson, our city forester, put a lot of work into this, and it's a $630,000 grant. So, yep. I was telling the department heads this morning, we kind of took a shot in the dark, and there was 8, I think, awarded in the state of Iowa, and we're by far the smallest community that was awarded. So very excited about that. About 2/3 of the money will be used to help people trim trees. So hire a contractor to go around and catch up where we're kind of far behind on tree trimming and help residents with that. And then tree inventory, some tree plantings, some good community partners with Decorah Jobs, Wenatchee County Conservation, and Trees Forever. So very excited for that, and it's over 5 years, so Sam will be very busy, but put a lot of work into that, and so he deserves the credit, and it'll be a good thing for
And once again, that total partnership is key for being able to get that type of money. So, anything else from there? Okay, tell me the next move. Do we have the council that just goes around? Okay, Randy?
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Emily?
Good, I'm going to take his and mine because I have quite a few.
What'd you
All right,
say?
I'm going to take his time and mine. First of all, there is a sustainability committee meeting on Wednesday, and they are going to be discussing some proposed changes to the transportation section of the plan. So if any council member is interested in tuning into that.
Time in that?
5:45?
I think it's 30.
5:30? No, we changed it. 5:45.
Or 45,
Yep.
okay.
Thank you.
Then I also wanted to say that we had tentatively thought about a public safety meeting in October, but given where council is, and I've talked with the chief on this, we'll probably put this in November. So that should be coming in terms of public safety and talking about the 21 ordinance. Travis and I talked about it too. Then I also wanted to give a huge shout out to streets, because I have heard from lots of people how much they appreciate how much we've invested in Decorah streets and how hard everybody's working over the summer. And then I also want to give a shout out to the Pride Committee, who pulled together such an incredible event this weekend. And I have a little thought just that even the heavens were trying to give a rainbow, that we got this giant rainstorm right before that. So I'm so grateful for the celebration that reminds us all that love is more powerful than hate. And so with that, I also want to thank the police force and the sheriff's department for their work this weekend, both at the parade and celebrating with the rest of Decorah, but also then in the events that happened afterward and their quick response. So thank you very much. And then I also want to just give a shout out, given what Jeremy just said, right, to this idea of, I know there are a lot of people upset about this forest utility fee, but there is a certain amount of when we invest, we have such a fantastic staff that can take the money that we invest our taxes in, right, and our fees that we pay for quality water and do something incredible with it, right? I mean, I can't even imagine the return on our investment that we just got a $630,000 grant as a result of the work of our forester. So I do want to give a shout out of appreciation for that. And finally, I promise I am done. It's kind of fun to read all of these thank yous and all of these great things. And I, after 4 years, right, have felt really proud of the work that we have all done together. And I have made the decision that I am going to continue to put myself out there to be on council. And so I am announcing that I will be running at large for this next election. And so you can see my paperwork be submitted tomorrow, and you'll start seeing my signs back again.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Kirsten.
Just one real quick thing. We were talking about RSVP a little bit earlier. If anybody doesn't know what that means, it's Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And my wife and I are currently involved with a program they do that's called Pen Pals. And they do a Pen Pal program with the third graders here in Decorah. I think Waukon and Cresco are also involved with that. But I know they desperately need people to do it, to fill out the rosters, to get everybody a Pen Pal. And it's a really kind of a neat program that all the kids that are in third grade get letters. I think they exchange 4 letters with you, and you exchange 4 letters back with them. And then we have a little get-together at the end of the year where you get to meet your pen pal and stuff like that. So if anybody's interested that qualifies as RSVP, please go up to the library up there and sign up. And you have lots of other things available for you to do as well with RSVP.
That's a very cool program. Anything else? Nope. Steve Luce. I'm going to.
In regards to Travis's comment about the elections, I have said to some privately, but I'll say publicly, I shall not be seeking re-election. And I think with Steve and I being redistricted into the same Ward 4, I look forward to people supporting Steve and his efforts to fill that term. John, I had a question regarding Park District. Are there a lot of cities, do most cities hire Park District members?
Are you talking about the park board?
Yes.
Well, only anecdotally can I say. I have not done an extensive study, but when I've been looking just for examples of ordinances, I do not see other cities that have an elected park board. And talking with Travis, coincidentally, Humboldt has one. But yeah, and there's probably others out there. Unlike counties under Iowa code do have a very explicit conservation board to manage their parks and have very explicit powers and duties. I have not found the same thing for cities. And just kind of, I haven't spent a whole lot of time, but I have seen there, like 1971, there was a part of the Iowa code that I think was repealed that dealt with city park boards. Now, I haven't dug further to see what that was actually in that before, so I can't tell you why Decorah has an elected board while many other communities in Iowa have an appointed board, similar to P&Z or Board of Adjustment.
Like a mayoral appointment and
Right.
seconded by council, most?
Right, same as like our other boards and commissions.
And that, to change that actually is a vote of the people, correct?
I haven't looked in it that far. I mean, it's a strange thing that we even have it. So I'm not sure that it would require a vote, because to have a vote of the people, it would have to be something that's required under state law.
Okay.
And if we're not required to have a park board that's elected, I'm not sure I could justify saying that it's required that we
I'm
undo
not
it through an election.
promoting one or the other, but I would like you to clarify that
Okay.
fact, please.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
What a wonderful, beautiful, marvelous weekend. The exuberance our community displayed on Saturday in that parade time and the sharing of sentiments to each other as we walked and talked and just had a great time celebrating that love is love. And I think I take personal pride in the beautiful flags we had flying, honoring all of our people, and that love is so valuable to all, not just to certain genders who align. So I thank you for that. In that regard, if any of you at the counter here would like a pen, I've got some extras that I've collected, so I think I have one if you'd like. So come up afterwards and I'll see how far they go. What a beautiful autumn. The leaves turning just bring joy to recognizing it's another season and we're moving on. And as I'm ending my season as a council person, I appreciate the time sharing with all of you and being part of this team. So thank you for that.
And that being said, you have a few more steps to go until January. We can still have you.
Excuse me?
It's only September.
I don't know if she's proposing to me or what's going on
No,
here. So.
I am stating that you're still going to be with us until the end of December.
As much as I am here, I'm not always all here, but I'll work on it. Yes.
Okay. Steve Zittigrun.
Thanks for those well-expressed sentiments. I encourage the public to stick around. We're going to do a closed session in a bit, but there is a special meeting afterward, and I think the special meeting, among other things, is going to take up, what the appropriate city response to these, terrible actions on Saturday night should be. How, in addition to the wonderful work done by local law enforcement and the spontaneous actions of many community members to address these things, I think it's important that it be clear to every member of our community that the city stands with and for every single person in our community, and especially those who feel targeted by Saturday night's actions, that we have their back. And I hope you stick around and as we discuss how to do that. I was proud of Decorah on Sunday, so that was neat to see. I read that trees, I know I'm just citing stuff tonight, but I read that for $1 that a town spends on a tree over the course of the next 50 years, it gets $5 back. And I think that, when we think about the forest utility fee, but then we hear great news about this huge grant. We realize that it's not just, some tree trimming or whatever, but this is an investment in Decorah's long-term future, a smart one, a fiscally responsible choice. It saves your storm sewer, it cools your city, it reduces smog, pollution, noise. It does so many good things, has so many benefits. It's good for wildlife, and it just makes things more pleasant and walkable for everyone. So I'm awfully glad that we're doing that. I'm really happy about Sam's work and the whole department, so thank you. Going to League of Cities, along with several other staff members, the mayor, I'm sure, and some other council members also. Are you going to go? Great. So we'll be in Cedar Rapids, learning how to better serve our constituents and learn, sort of some of the issues that councils will be looking forward to in 2024. I'm excited about that. That's always been a good workshop. I know work demands mean that not every council member can go, but if you're on the fence about whether to go, it really is a valuable experience. And finally, I will be running for election in Ward 4, and I'm excited to see if the voters would like to trust me to do this important work for another term. I'm hopeful it actually is a 4-year term. I think this is my 7th election now. That's an exaggeration. But I'm excited about the chance to continue doing this really awesome work. Sometimes we take some heat, but There's a lot of good that you get to see come to fruition. And so thanks for the chance to put my name out there. And Randy, if you need any care and feeding instructions for Ward 5, I commend it to your good care.
I represented that for about 10 years.
Oh, so this is not your first rodeo.
That's
Got
right.
it. Great. Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
That's a good thought. Okay, Ross.
Well, I just want to thank my fellow council members for such a beautiful tie-in. I, as many of you know, sometimes I'm non sequitur, but this is not one of those times. Steve Lewis, I know you don't maybe remember handing me this sheet of paper, but I think 5 years ago, Steve Lewis handed me a sheet of paper when we were just working on the sustainability committee, not the commission, the initial committee. And this was something that he had suggested that we use as a framing document. So I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. These are not my words. But I think it's especially appropriate given the weekend and given what we're doing. Sustainability definition. Sustainability isn't just about being green or environmental or economically feasible or community-minded. Sustainability is about creating the kind of community and lifestyle that can thrive even during hardships and times of change. If our economy goes sour, will our community thrive? If climate changes our weather patterns, will we be able to accommodate the change without losing what makes us a community? And I think the Sustainability Commission and Plan and Council have really embodied that. And I hope that we can continue to be sustainable and have beautiful weekends like we had this one. So thanks for your time, not getting reelected, staying at large for 2 more years. So stay for the show.
Nothing,
Rick
Mayor.
Johnson.
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay, so the next item, before I ask for a motion for going into closed session, might you give some direction as far as the people that are in this room as far as the second meeting? Because I'm assuming we're going to be
Sure.
going into the administration.
Correct, yeah.
That's
So
correct.
as one of the council members pointed out, there is another meeting that will follow this one. So council, if assuming a motion to adjourn is made and we go into closed session, everybody will go into the administrative offices. Following that, exiting out of closed session, then this meeting will be adjourned, and then the mayor will call to order the special meeting agenda that was posted, where the discussion around the downtown flag policy will occur.
Okay. Being,
Go ahead.
go,
You need a motion then?
yes.
Motion to
motion.
adjourn and go into closed session.
Second.
Yeah, not to adjourn, just to go into closed
Closed
session.
Motion
Pursuant
to go into
Iowa
closed
Code
session.
2151J to discuss real estate.
Okay, motion made by Olson, seconded by Neal. Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
then Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
We'll be back.
Motion carried.
Ding.
Okay,
No, new meeting.
Second.
motion, we've had a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that ends the council part of the meeting. Now we have a special council meeting. Can you, we have to do the roll call for that too? Okay, can you give the background for this, Travis?
Sure, so I received requests from a couple council members to discuss tonight whether it was in conjunction with the regular meeting or the route that went forward with a special council meeting to discuss the downtown flag display policy. So I did post it as a special council meeting agenda, which again, there's 2 forms of council meetings, either regularly scheduled or special council meeting. And did post it to follow regular scheduled meeting, estimated start time 6:15 for after perfectly legal. With that, again, I had a couple council members ask that this policy be discussed. I did put it in the Dropbox, sent it out to everyone, as well as the agenda.
Okay, so historically, we've discussed this many, many times before. So the reasoning for the people that brought it forth?
So I guess my ask is that we consider in light of what happened this weekend, and in solidarity with our LGBTQ plus community here within Decorah, that we leave the flags up until next Monday.
But we did get that email
Right.
from Travis regarding the Norwegian ambassadors. The Norwegian ambassadors visit, and it's Luther Parents Weekend, and those flags
Go up on Friday.
would traditionally go up as part of policy as well. So my thought, because street department has to take up and put down anyway, in order to save labor, that we just do it once, but and I don't know about staff commitment or whatnot, but would a Wednesday or Thursday switch?
Well, there is a,
For Jeremy as well, he can fill in the blanks. So we are short staffed, that's one of the reasons they're still, and the bucket truck is currently in Des Moines. That's one of the reasons the flags are still currently up. We're down a couple staff, the bucket truck's not available, so everything's being done with black.
Oh,
That being said, Wednesday and Thursday, I know we've got a decent amount of contractors, contract work coming in for streets. Those 2 days getting better, or are we looking at Friday around?
So our intent was to put up the Luther and Norwegian flags Friday morning
okay.
in hopes that we would have the truck back.
And we
But
don't
if
have
not,
okay, so we don't have the truck anyway. So can we put out a statement as a city, criticizing the criminal actions that took place this weekend, but not necessarily tying the flags into it, but recognizing that we support the community and still have our cake and eat it too by getting the flags up for the weekend as well.
Why not tie the flags into it? I was
I
just going
think-
to
I
say,
mean, you can put it in a statement.
because, I mean, according to our flag policy, right, we have these official sediments that we can use our flagpoles for, right? And so there's a part of me that says, what we are trying to say, right, is that we are with you. And in that we are with you is the flags will remain until Friday at this point.
I guess I would be in favor of leaving them up as well for the duration of this week, at what point in time the street department would have a chance to switch flags at that point in time. My question would be to John, is that first paragraph at the top of page 2, would that cover us in what that says to do that without changing our flag policy, so to speak? Where it says, or resolution of the city council as an expression of the city's official sentiments. Would that qualify to do as we're proposing?
Resolution of the city council as an expression of the city's official statements. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
Sentiments, yeah.
Sentiments, excuse me. The city flagpoles and streetlight flag mount brackets are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression to the public. I think you can do it. This policy is an administrative policy that is the council's, and as was discussed when this was adopted, usually the city council doesn't even get into all the administrative policies, but because of how much public attention was on this one, decided to have the council control this. And it's up to you to either amend the policy or to, and I don't even know that this is an amendment, because you can further direct when these flags are flown within these parameters. And I don't think it's quite that locked in stone that, you can't extend it for a few days.
I think that when I look at it, I look at clarity as far as what kind of a precedent is being set. But I look at it the fact that really as far as the street department is concerned, and because we don't have the picker, and because we have, you know, a lot going on, that they would coordinate that, so by the end of the week, those flags are down and the other ones are put up. But I do not see where that would be changing this policy at all.
Right.
And then if the council wants to make a comment about what went on over the weekend, I don't see tied in with changing the flags out.
Right. But we can issue a statement.
Right.
Not, you know, about what happened. I think the chief did a really good job in the regular meeting, you know, saying that the community doesn't support hate crimes. And, you know, we are not in community with that. But we don't have to change flag policy. You know, I don't feel like we need to address the policy as a policy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we can do both things. We don't actually have to change our policy at all. We can still say we're leaving the flags up for an extra time period out of respect and to honor the people who are essentially victims of a hate crime, right? I mean, let's be honest. So
That's where my comment ends, that if you set that type of a precedent, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, except that the reason that they're staying up is because of the city workers.
I think we should have that precedence. I mean, if something happened in our country and we wanted to put up the American flags, I think we would do that, right? I think if something happened at Luther and we wanted to put up the Luther flags, I think we would do that.
I also want to make it clear, as far as for the PD department this next weekend, you know, what their responsibilities are, or not responsibilities, but to make it clear for them, any issues. Can you
In
just
case the
understand?
Norwegian ambassador is,
Now, do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
Okay, well, that's
no,
good.
so like next weekend when the Norwegian ambassador or the Luther, like,
Isn't that?
it's
that's
Parents
this
Weekend and it's this weekend.
That is.
Yeah, and the Norwegian and Luther flags
Okay.
will be flying.
And they will, and the Norwegian ones are only going to be flying in that street from
Yeah.
that block,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so as again, I just want to repeat, we don't have to change our flag policy.
Okay.
But we are leaving the flags up as a statement, right? And a expression of solidarity with the members of our community who experienced this tragedy and this hate crime this weekend. It also happens to be very convenient that we then can use our bucket truck as opposed to climbing a ladder.
To make it clear, we'll take them down and put them up whenever
No,
all
I
that
know,
there's
I know.
convenience there.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee we'll even have the bucket truck back.
Right,
So
right.
don't let we will do what is directed.
know.
So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Let's not put the crew at risk by going up on ladders and things like that.
Yeah,
If you
can we
don't have
use the
to, right,
aerial
yeah.
ladder instead?
Right.
No, we actually have a little device
They
that
have a
they'll use
device
too.
that you
And
use.
don't have to go far up on the ladder.
Okay.
Travis, I'd like to, you know, we've talked about it, but I do think the city ought to issue a statement that represents the will of the council. And I think the statement should make it clear that in no uncertain terms, the population of Decorah, as a matter of principle and policy, utterly rejects any attempt to target any members of our community, and that we stand in solidarity with our LGBTQ plus neighbors who are an important part of our community, welcome here, valued here, and that Decorahans of every political stripe and political allegiance have their back. And that we're not going to let the actions of a few outshout the love and support of the many.
Amen to that.
Okay.
Yep.
So what would you like, what kind of information do you need to get that done, all right?
I heard several times.
Okay.
We're not changing the flag policy.
Okay,
Right.
right.
No, but where's the statement? Who's writing the
But,
statement?
yeah, who's
Right,
writing
right.
the statement?
I'm gonna say my preferred, especially something with this, I'll be honest with you. You are all elected officials because you are much more eloquent speakers than I.
I
And
recall
at the end of
that.
the day, what I put together, I want to make sure conveys the sentiments of the council so we draft resolutions and ordinances and then put them in the packet for you all to see and you all to vote on. So that would be my preferred path, is that it's drafted, reviewed by the council, and voted on as a statement from the city.
And you have to,
And that would take a meeting, correct?
well, and you have to take into consideration that we're going to league, so it would have to be in the next day.
Well, we wouldn't
how-
be able to have a meeting.
Stephen, you were very eloquent.
Can we just have, yeah.
Would you write a letter? Can the council issue a communique that's written and signed by the council, but distributed by the city through city channels without a vote?
So on an individual basis, like
Well,
if
if Steven Zittigren wrote a letter and the council people who felt
All signed it.
could the city release it as a press
We
release?
do that as a
Let's
council.
not make it this complicated. Why not just make a press release? Why does it have to be an official statement? Press
I'm
release.
good with a press release, so that's gonna be a different. If you're
Well-
looking for an official city statement, that is what I would say an actionable item. If you're looking for a press release, you're gonna get something very similar to what Chief Tyne talked about in her statement there, which I do think was very fitting. So that's,
I just want an official statement from the city, not condoning hate, addressing a hate crime.
Can we do that on our own? If
But then-
Steve were to write a letter.
It's not
we
an
all sign
official
it.
statement.
Then it's not then it's, can we,
But you could do it as a press release.
I mean, I appreciate Travis not wanting to write something as a professional manager that isn't necessarily code
Voted on.
or
do
voted.
you write something in a minute?
Well, that's what it would be.
It's not an
So-
agenda item to write one, so we can't
Correct.
do that.
No, you can't. I
so
think you have
John
a.
and I actually just had a little tiny sidebar over here, and unfortunately, we keep talking about what Steve Zittergruen could write and communicated. We do have a path with this through an individual, but it is through mayoral proclamation.
There we go.
So it
There, yep.
could be done
But
that
then,
way.
and we would have to vote on that tonight? No.
Mayoral proclamations are, they're
Oh,
not voted
I
on.
take that back. A mayor, correct.
Yep, so there you go.
How does that?
Will
how
you
does
speak on
council
our,
provide
will you
feedback?
speak on our behalf, Mayor?
So council members can communicate their sentiments one directional to the mayor. Don't talk amongst each other, but council members can communicate their sentiments to the mayor, and she could take that into her consideration in drafting a mayoral proclamation.
And release it tomorrow if she wants.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
I will,
Can we, at the same time, I think we have press there, but can we also do a press release as to why we're leaving the flags up?
Do what?
I would say that would take a vote.
By the time it hits the press, they'll be
yeah, that's right.
Well, I assume it'll hit Decorah News.
Oh, I bet the Core News.
I bet Decorah News will run it today,
Right away, yeah.
right?
I can do the proclamation in conjunction with the press release.
Okay.
John's smiling.
So you're wanting
No,
a press release regarding the flags.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a statutory requirement. I just wanted to make sure, but I don't see one. But yes, I had to spell it.
I will also consult with Trish, since, I will consult with Trish, because her statements were very clear.
Her statements were very clear. I just want to be very clear that there is, the council had a special meeting in order to leave the flags up, because that is our sentiment that we are expressing on a flagpole. And I either want that to know that that's going to go in the proclamation, or to issue it as a press release.
So if that
Okay.
is the case, again, mini sidebar over here. If that is the communication you want, that it is specifically being left up in observance of those of the LGBTQ plus community, that should be a formal action. It does not have to be an amendment of the policy, but it should be an action of this council
We have to vote on it.
to do so. Correct.
But they can't do it
Yeah,
tonight.
but
No, we can't.
They can.
Oh, they
All
can't.
right, so
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we, in accordance with our flag policy and the city's sentiment, leave the the pride flags up until Friday in order to show our support and solidarity with our LGBTQ plus community.
Second.
A motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Discussion.
All I'll say is that I just don't think it's true. I think the reason the flags are up is we don't have personnel to take them down. And I'm fine
No,
with
the
that.
reason I mean, we called this meeting for that without even knowing that we didn't have the personnel to count it down. That's not true. If that was the case, the flags would be up, we wouldn't have this meeting. So 3 council members wanted to have this meeting. We called it specifically for that purpose, and that's what I don't want to get muddied in the water.
See, I was not informed of that. I just had a discussion of the flag
Flag
policy.
policy, that's
There was
correct.
no, nothing was conveyed to me that that we were going to talk about keeping the flags up.
I think we had to keep, I mean, it was that because we can't talk about everything if we don't have it be vague.
Okay, can you read me the motion?
To lead the flags up to support the LGBTQ plus community
Until,
The Friday.
until Friday.
Or whenever, what such time they can get taken down.
But we vote to leave them up till Friday. If they can't,
And so
Yeah.
if
that's
they can't
the,
get them down till
That's-
next Tuesday, then.
okay. And then you don't need the mayor proclamation?
yeah, we want
No,
the,
we want the
we want the
that.
mayoral proclamation,
That sounds fine.
but that is not part of the motion.
That's correct. Oh, boy, okay.
Was there a second?
Any other discussion? Yeah, we had a motion made and seconded. Okay. Roll call?
Neal,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Let's see, start anew. Jizzle,
No, I don't like making exceptions to the rules.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye, reluctantly.
Motion. Motion carried. Okay? And I will consult with you two tomorrow, the mayor proclamation. All right. Okay, so move. Okay.